All right, guys. So, some woke sports news here. Because we have Stephen A. Talking about race again. Okay, and as you know, Stephen A. Smith appears to hate it anytime a white man in the NBA gets promoted or gets hired to a position that he thinks that a black man should get. I mean, that's about as simple as I can put it at this point, because that seems like that's what it is. And this time, Brad Stevens, who was the head coach of the Boston Celtics, they basically just got kicked out of the playoffs, and he was promoted to president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics, taking over for Danny Ainge. And of course, Stephen A. Smith gets mad about it because he thinks that this is only an opportunity that's afforded to white guys only. And this comes off the back of the same tired old argument about how because the NBA is 80% black, that for whatever reason, that means that executives and coaches and everywhere else in the league has to fit that same demographic, even though we don't apply this standard to anywhere else in America outside of sports. So let's listen to Stephen A's argument here, and then I'm gonna break it down a little bit deeper, because I'm really getting tired of this silly argument regarding proportionality, because it's not being made in good faith. It's really not. His real beef is not really with these white coaches getting these jobs. His real beef is actually with these woke players who Stephen A. Smith believes is leaving him out to dry.
I like Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens is a good coach. He came into this season. He's been to the conference finals now 3 times in the last 5 years. I understand that. But Molly and Max Kellerman and the producers, put us on the split screen, please, because I want to look at Molly and Max when I ask this question. If I remember correctly, did we not on several occasions have conversations this year about whether or not Brad Stevens was going to last as head coach of the Boston Celtics, because of what a roller coaster ride this season has been, and how it seemed like the young talent that you had available to you didn't seem on the same page, and as a result, it might be time for a new voice. I recall that being the case.
Yeah.
So we go through all of that. You get bounced out in the first round, albeit to the Brooklyn Nets, who most people believe are the favorites, and obviously you didn't have Jaylen Brown, and that's to be acknowledged. You had what can only be described as a suspect relationship with the Marcus Smarts of the world, according to reports and things of that nature. And you're moving upstairs to the front office? You see, it's moments like this where I get on people's nerve, particularly white America and the NBA community specifically, because I point out it's beautiful to be a white guy. It's just beautiful. You know, you're a question mark as a coach in some people's eyes, including in Boston. But somehow, some way, you moving upstairs. And the paucity of opportunities for African Americans continue to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. We talked about the coach. We didn't even get into black folks in executive positions. We got one black man with power. I'm talking about he's the final say on basketball. I'm not talking about black folks sprinkled here and there in the front office where you're in the room and you play a role in the decision making. And I'm talking about one dude, and his name is Masai Ujiri in Toronto. We don't even have in the NBA a black dude in the United States that's making the final call on basketball-related matters. And somehow, some way, Brad Stevens, who I like, who I believe deserves to be a head coach on this level, a shaky season, and he's going upstairs. That's my reaction to this, Max. I actually don't give a damn about anything else pertaining to the Boston Celtics right now. That's where my mind is.
Well, I understand
it's
it.
It's just a beautiful thing sometimes. Again, when we talk about Steve Nash, we talk about Tim Tebow, we talk about Brad Stevens and stuff like that. I want to call out the NBA players. You got something to say about everything else? Where you at? We got one, you got some people out there that saying Raphael Stone ain't making the final calls, even though Fertitta and the Houston Rockets swear that he is. Okay, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You got Masai Ujiri in Canada. You got Raphael Stone in Houston after everybody's departed and he basically has no team. They ain't African Americans that have been toiling through the terrain and trying to become executives in the National Basketball Association. Last time I checked, that's the case. We see coaches on the sideline. They don't want to become head coaches. They've been assistants for years. You got a guy like Phil Handy in Los Angeles that's been an assistant everywhere he's gone to get championships. Cleveland, Toronto, and LA. Okay? And it wasn't just LeBron. It was Kawhi, too. There's a plethora of guys. You got Sam Cassell. He's going to be a hell of a coach one day in the NBA if he gets that opportunity. Chauncey Billups. Everybody was talking about he had an opportunity to get an executive's position. And then suddenly it dwindles. But Steve Nash, who we love and respect, great dude, got a black agent, one of the great ones, Mr. Bill Duffy. Steve Nash never coached on any level. And not only does he get the job, he gets the job with the full support of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who, by the way, never insisted that a black candidate be interviewed and be put front and center so we'll know who that individual is. We got Brad Stevens here. It's Boston. Tatum's your star. Jaylen Brown's your star. We understand what role that they play, particularly Jaylen Brown, in social justice issues. We're supposed to be woke. We're supposed to understand that knee on George Floyd's neck wasn't just about violence and police brutality. It was also the figurative semblance that it provided, where you're feeling like constantly people have their knee on your neck since the time you come out of the womb. We've been talking about all of this stuff, and people are willing to say, oh, Stephen A's bringing up race. Oh, Stephen A's bringing up George Floyd and equating that to Tebow. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, from a figurative perspective, what we witnessed and what got the nation up and it just inspired was because what we saw was symptomatic and emblematic of how we feel as a people, consistently being marginalized, consistently being minimized, consistently being underappreciated, undervalued. And in a world of sports, where you got dudes with guaranteed contracts making money that would secure their generations of family. You got folks hesitant to speak up. You got players, NBA players are some of the most powerful people in this world. When have they spoken up for black coaches? When? When have they spoken up for black executives, GMs, president of basketball operations? When has that happened? LeBron, all of them, everybody. Where the hell have they been? Nobody's done anything. And then when we the media, we bring it up, and you got white folks out here gonna sit up there and look at Stephen A. and say, oh, here he is bringing up race. And none of the black players speak up and say, yo, he got a point. Yo, he's right. Yo, there's something that needs to be done here. Do y'all want me to bring up the Rooney Rule and how it might be needed in basketball? Oh, I forgot. I can't do that. Why? Because the Rooney Rule ain't even working in the damn NFL. So when are we going to say something about it? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
Go ahead, Perk. You want to respond?
You seen that? You heard that? That's Stephen A. on his little race rant here. Saying stuff like, oh, it's beautiful to be a white guy. I don't know, man. It's probably not beautiful to be a white guy who wants to be an NBA player, knowing that, genetically and just, statistically speaking, you're not very likely to make it to the league. So I think that this argument can be applied in multiple ways here, Stephen A. Smith. But I told you guys in my last video about Stephen A. Smith and Tim Tebow, and also when I originally did this video way back in the day, okay, about Stephen A. complaining about Steve Nash having white privilege. Stephen A.'s beef is not necessarily with the fact that Steve Nash was hired or that he's a white guy. It's really, his beef is that people like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, okay, and LeBron, and people in the league who claim to be so woke, okay, who's supposed to be fighting against white supremacy. They are not using their power to put more black coaches in positions of power and to have more black executives, okay? Because what happens is that when Stephen A goes out there and he says something that's not woke, they go after him for it, okay? They go after him for saying things that are not woke. So now when Stephen A is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to ride with y'all. I'm going to get on y'all train. I'm going to support y'all. What's happening now is that Stephen A will go out there and stand up for these coaches, but these players won't, right? Even though these players are supposed to be woke. And that's why Stephen A keeps saying all this woke stuff, because he's trying to prove his blackness. He's trying to prove that he's down with the team, but he's frustrated because the team that he got down with ain't really down for the team. Okay? Just like these companies are fake woke, they ain't really about all the stuff they say they're about. These woke athletes like LeBron, like, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, they're not really about it. Okay? They're not really about it, because like all the smart people in the world, when it comes down to hiring, when it comes down to protecting your money, you are going to go with the most talented person, the person that you work with the best, regardless of their skin color. Okay, that's what they're doing. They can be as woke as they want, but I guarantee you, when it comes down to, again, winning, when it comes down to making money, when it comes down to accumulating resources, when it comes down to all these things, race is going to go out of the window. Okay, nobody cares at that point. At that point, it's all about performance, black or white. And Stephen A. Smith, you're the dummy that fell for this. You're the dummy that fell for it, because people on the right has been saying, yeah, it is about who the best man for the job is. That's who it's about. And again, anybody with power, anybody with money knows that, because they're going to protect their money. They're not going to go out here and hire somebody based off skin color and knowing that person might not be good enough for the job, or they might lose their money. No dummy is doing that. Only dummies that fall for that trick are people like you. LeBron, for as much as he talks about white folks, he lives among white people. He surrounds himself with white people. Okay? They're not really about the things they say they're about. And really, it's Stephen A's fault, because he's the one that bought into that BS in the first place instead of being objective. Okay? Stop worrying about the woke revolutionaries taking your black card, bruh. It don't matter. Okay? I learned that a long time ago. It don't matter. Because, again, no matter what you do for them, it will never be enough. It will never be enough. And that's why Stephen A is so mad. It seems like every single time a white guy gets a job over a black man, he has to go on these race rants, because he's trying to prove how woke he is. But internally, he's frustrated because he's more woke, like actual woke, like actually doing something woke, than all these other people that's out here talking. But when it comes to Brad Stevens and the whole proportionality argument, okay, I do want to break that down. Stephen A is basically saying that Brad Stevens has white privilege, okay? And, my argument is this. Stephen A says that he's getting on white America's nerves. No, he's not just getting on white America's nerves. I think he's getting on everybody's nerves, okay? I think he's just getting on America's nerves, because this argument is so tired and it's so old and it's so disingenuous, okay? Because essentially the crux of his argument is that, well, the league, because the league is primarily black, there should be more black head coaches and more black people in executive positions in the league. Although, the NBA already has, I think, 8 black general managers, okay? They have, some people in executive positions. I think 30% of the general managers in the league are black. It's about 37.6% of people in NBA offices are people of color. But yet he's complaining about this as if this is some type of anomaly in which, no, this is not enough. You actually need more. And I'm curious, because this argument that he's making here basically assumes that, again, because the league is 75-80% black, that must be represented by the actual front office and other aspects of the league. But I thought that the argument from the woke revolutionaries was that it's supposed to be a representation of the population. It's supposed to be a representation of the population as a whole. And keep in mind, That's not an argument that I subscribe to. I'm best man for the job, get the job, regardless of your color. That's where I'm coming from. But I find it funny how the whole, it's supposed to be a representation of the population argument is not good enough when it comes to sport. When it comes to leagues that are primarily dominated by black players, all of a sudden that argument goes out the window. It's not about population anymore. Now it's about, no, everything has to be proportionate to your employees, right? If your employees are primarily black, then everybody else in the front office that's running the company has to be primarily black. Okay, so with that same argument and that same logic, if a company is primarily white, shouldn't the executive team be primarily white? Because that's the argument that you're making. It's the same argument I make even when it comes to any arguments about how everything needs to be proportional. Okay, it has to be proportional to the population. Okay, cool. Well, if that's the way you want it, then that means that you can have no more than 13% of your executive team, 13% of your employees, 13% of your whole company be black. If that's the way these woke revolutionaries want it, if you want to be consistent, then let's be consistent about it. Because if you apply the population to determine how the racial outlook of the NBA should be, then the league should not be overly represented by black folks. That means you need to kick out most of the players in the league, and you need to make sure only 13% of them are black, regardless of their athletic ability, regardless of their ability to play basketball, regardless of any of that. That's what you got to do to be consistent. But here's my thing. They would never accept that. They would never accept that because that's not what it's about. It's not about proper representation. That's not what it's about for them. What it's about for them is that they just feel like that, white people need to give up their power. They just need to give up their positions that they're in. Okay, it's never been about proportionality. Proportionality is just what they use as a disguise for basically saying white people need to give up their positions. That's all it is. That's all it is. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the problem with the whole proportionality argument. It doesn't make sense logically, and they also don't apply it fairly. But you know what? At this point, I honestly really don't know if internally Stephen A. Smith actually believes the things that he says. Okay, I really don't know if he believes this stuff. Okay, because I already told you what his actual issue is. Okay, like it does seem like every time, a white man gets a job that Stephen A. Smith thinks a black man should have, he gets upset. But I think a lot of the reason why he's upset is because he knows that he's really the only one pushing this issue. Okay, even though, again, I don't necessarily agree with him on this. I think that the best man should get the job, but he signed up to be a part of the woke revolution, and the woke revolutionary stabbed him in the back. And that's a hard lesson that Stephen A. Smith needs to learn, that you can never be woke enough. You cannot please the woke revolutionaries. You just can't. You just can't. So, I mean, really, my advice to Stephen A. Smith is this. Stop going up here, giving these race rants and all this stuff, and just keep it real. Just give us your real opinion, regardless of whether or not the woke people are going to disinvite you from the cookout, because they're going to be mad regardless. Okay, they already think Max is blacker than you. Okay, I think Terrell Owens told Stephen A. Smith that to his face, and it's nothing you can do to change it. Once you've messed up with the woke revolutionaries, you're done. Okay, you can go out there and keep doing backflips for them all you want, but I don't think it's going to matter at this point. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.